Good morning. It's optical fiber communication. The course outcomes of DET 3202. The students will be able to understand different communication media, various blocks, and applications of optical fiber communication system. The students will be able to understand the optics rules and measure the optical fiber cable parameters. The students will be able to identify a suitable optical source for a given application. The student should be able to identify suitable optical detector for a given application. The student should be able to identify suitable connectors and measure the losses in the optical fiber cable. The student should be able to understand architecture of the optical network for given applications. So am I audible? Please, am I audible? Please have give feedback. Is it audible? Okay, thank you, Sujal Kadam. So let us start. As we know, the characteristic of optical fiber, there are optical fiber sources. There are light sources of wide spectrum, white light sources, which contains all the frequencies, like incandescent lamp. So incandescent lamps are not having the monochromaticity. They are not having the incoherency coherency. So these are no monochromatic, no coherent sources. Now, light emitting diodes are there, which are monochromatic. They emit single wavelength, and but they are not coherent. They are incoherent. Okay? Incoherent. That means all the photons emitted are not in same phase. Lasers, they are monochromatic as well as coherent. They emit single wavelength as well as they emitted photons are all in phase. So optical fiber communication DET 3201. Next slide is major requirements of optical sources. The size and configuration of the source should be compatible in launching the light into optical output, and light output should be in highly directional, because the fiber is hair like small fiber, so size should be compatible and configuration should be compatible, because light should be launched in the beam in the acceptance cone, and light should be highly directional. It must accurately track the electrical input, that is signal, with minimum distortion, minimum noise. The electrical input tracking is possible. That means the source should be linear. Then and then only it can track the electrical output accurately without distortion and noise. It should emit light. Source should emit the light at a wavelength where the fiber has low losses. So, as we know, the fiber has 1.7 micrometer to zero point 0.8 micrometer optical fiber communication window. So within this window, the wavelength should be there for the light source emission, so that it will have low dispersion, low losses, and also it should have the wavelength which the detector is efficient. That means detector is able to receive the and detect the wavelength. So preferably capable of simple signal modulation over a wide bandwidth extending from audio frequency to few gigahertz beyond gigahertz. So whatever wavelength is there, like optical wavelength, that should able to modify a very small audio frequency to beyond gigahertz audio frequency signal. So signal is to be modified by this wavelength carrier, light carrier. It must sufficiently, the source must couple sufficiently optical power. It should be able to couple sufficiently large optical power into fiber to overcome the fiber attenuation, the connector losses, and able to give the adequate power to the driver to drive the detector. So detector requires some minimum optical power, so that much we able to provide by the system. So it should have very small narrow spectral bandwidth, that is line width, in order to minimize the dispersion in the fiber. So the line width should be very small. So theoretically, the laser or LED are emitting single wavelength, but practically some line width, some other wavelengths along with the central wavelength are emitted, but this line width should be as small as possible to minimize dispersion in fiber. It source must be capable of maintaining stable optical output, and that must be unaffected by changes in ambient conditions, especially temperature. So it is comparatively cost effective. It should be cheap and highly reliable in order to compete with conventional transmission technique. As we know, the optical energy is a form of photons. Photons are discrete packets of energy quanta. Interaction of the light with this semiconductor matter takes place in the photon form. That is, semiconductor absorbs photon, emits photon. So semiconductor material is used to make the source or detector. So that is the theory which must be knowing. Quantum theory suggests that atom exists only in certain discrete energy state. So atom is having the energy state of conduction, energy state of valence energy state, conduction energy state, and they are in the discrete form. They are separated by band gap energy. So this uh, is there in the mm, atoms. So absorption and emission of light causes absorption and emission of light causes atom to make a transition from one discrete energy state to another discrete energy state. Okay. So if the atom is having, so this last one, absorption and emission, the transition takes place, which is shown here, energy state diagram. Whenever there is an initial state of electron in the valence state, and one uh, photon which is having the energy equal to Eg. So this photon is absorbed by this electron or this atom. This electron transits from low valence energy state to conduction energy state. So this is the final state after absorption of the photon. After absorption, this is the final state. Electron goes into conduction state. So this is the conduction state, where this is the valence state energy. So electron transits here. So this is by absorption of photon. Similarly, if electron is already in conduction state, so if this is EC and this is EV, valence state energy level. So electron is already having the higher energy EC, and it jumps from EC to EV. That means easy amount of energy it has to lose, it has to give out. So whenever the electron transits from conduction level energy to valence level energy, it has to emit the Eg energy. So it emits this Eg energy is equal to HF one as a one photon and goes into valence state. So this is the emission of photon. So this emission is spontaneous emission. So this is spontaneous emission because it occurs randomly and without any external influence. So there is third type of the process of the photon interaction, and that is stimulated emission. So whenever electron is in conduction state, already in conduction state, higher energy state, and some external photon having the energy equal to band gap energy is travels from there, is come across the charged particle of higher energy conduction state, then this external photon removes the amount of energy equal to its own energy. So that is easy because this photon removes this energy equal to Eg. The electron loses this amount of energy Eg, and that's why electron has to jump to the lower energy state Ec minus Ev, and this is also again Eg. Ec minus Ev is also Eg, band gap energy. And electron transits from higher energy state, conduction energy state, to lower energy state, that is valence energy state. And the emitted electron and the incident electron, external electron, both travel in same direction, same phase, and they are having same energy. Therefore, they are having same wavelength. Okay. So this emitted photon and the incident photon are in very phase. Therefore, this light emitted is monochromatic and coherent in phase, and this is called stimulated emission, and this is observed in laser, whereas spontaneous emission is observed in LED, whereas and stimulated emission is observed in laser. Okay. So principle of working of optical sources. So till this we have discussed in the previous lecture. Now continue our today's lecture. So absorption and emission of the radiation. Absorption and emission of the radiation. So yesterday's lecture I have uploaded yesterday only on the YouTube channel. You can observe this on the YouTube. Watch this on the YouTube also. You can watch this on this app also. This app contains the same lecture, but after lecture, again it is joined same video without uh, audio in it. So without audio, only same video is there. So video is repeated. So 1 hour video is repeated to 2 hour video in the app. If you observe, how many of you have watching this video again? I don't know, but if whoever is watching in the app, they will found they must have found this, or they will find it. That same video is there two times. One is original video with audio, and second is the video which is not having the audio, only the video is there. So 1 hour lecture becomes 2 hour in the app. So you on the YouTube, the corrected video is there. Okay. On the YouTube, you can find the corrected video. So anyway, you can watch it anytime. So let us check the principle of working of optical source, absorption and emission of the radiation, frequency of the absorbed and emitted radiation, F, frequency of absorbed or emitted radiation, F is related to difference in energy state E between higher energy state E2 and lower energy state E1 by expression E equal to E2 minus E1 equal to HF, where F is Planck's constant, H is 6.626 10 raised to minus 34. So what it means, there is a energy state E1, there is a energy state E2, and this is the gap energy, suppose E, which is the difference of, here higher energy state is E2 and lower energy state is E1. Okay. So E2 minus E1. Okay. The frequency of absorbed or emitted radiation F is related to the difference in energy E. So this is E between the higher energy state E2, this is higher energy state E2, and the lower energy state E1. Here the lower energy state E1. Okay. And this difference is E equal to E2 minus E1. E equal to E2 minus E1. This is the energy difference. So this frequency F, which is either absorbed the photon or emitted the photon by atom, is HF equal to E, E2 minus E1. That means whenever the photon is absorbed by the atom, the E1 energy state electron jumps into E2 energy state whenever there is absorption of photon equal to HF. Okay. And whenever there is emission, transition of the atom from higher energy state E2 to lower energy state E1, there is a emission of photon equal to HF. This we have discussed in previous lecture also yesterday, and we have revised today. Same thing. So whenever there is a absorption of photon HF, there is a jump of electron from E1 to E2, and whenever there is a jump of electron from E2 to E1, it emits the photon HF. So this HF which is absorbed or HF which is emitted is equal to E, and E is nothing but E2 minus E1. That is mentioned in this equation. So photon which is absorbed or emitted is equal to band gap energy, and band gap energy is nothing but higher energy state energy, higher state energy minus lower state energy. That is the gap energy, and that is equal to photon either absorbed or emitted. So this is absorption and emission of the radiation. In this way, the absorption and emission of the radiation takes place. Always emitted photon and absorbed photon are equal to band gap energy. Band gap energy is nothing but higher energy state minus lower energy state. In case of atoms, which makes the semiconductor radiator send device, or detector device, detector. So these semiconductor material are having conduction state energy and valence state energy, and the difference in this is gap energy, band gap energy. This is nothing but EC minus EV, and whenever the electron uh, which is in the conduction state, sorry, valence state, jumps, absorbs the photon, it goes into conduction state. Okay. This photon is having, absorbed photon is having the value HF. So HF must be equal to Eg. And whenever electron is already there in the conduction state and it emits the photon equal to HF, it has to transit jump from EC energy state to EV energy state. Whenever the electron is in the EC energy state and it transits from EC energy state to EV energy state, it has to emit the photon, and that photon is having the energy amount equal to HF equal to Eg, gap energy. Okay, so that is mentioned in this equation. Here HF is Planck's constant, 6.626 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule. H is Planck's constant, 6.626 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second. Okay, so this is 10 raised to minus 34 raised to 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Now, the principle of working of optical source, if we consider the first case where the absorption of light photon takes place, okay, absorption of the light photon, consider two energy state or level atomic system. Okay. Consider two energy state atomic system. So these are the two energy states. Okay, one is E2, another is E1. So this is conduction state, this is valence state. Okay. So this is EV, sorry, EC, this is EV. So consider two energy state or level atomic system where an atom is initially in the lower energy state E1. So atom is in the lower energy state. Okay. So the electron, outer state electron, outer orbit electron is in the conduction state. Okay. Sorry, valence state. Outer orbit electron is in the valence state. When a photon of energy E2 minus E1, so this band gap is, suppose E equal to E2 minus E1 is there for the atom. Okay. The gap energy is E2 minus E1. So for this electron to jump from E1 to E2, it requires this much amount of energy. So that electron which possesses the E1 energy will absorb this additional E energy and it can go from E1 to E2 state. So electron can possess either E1 state energy or E2 state energy. In between energy state cannot be possible for the electron to possess. इलेक्ट्रॉनला त्याच्याकडं दुसरी कुठलीच अमाऊंट ऑफ एनर्जी ही ठेवता येत नाही, त्याला त्याच्यासोबत राहत नाही. फक्त E1 तरी राहते किंवा E2 तरी राहते. त्याच्यामुळे E1 एनर्जी स्टेटमध्ये असलेला इलेक्ट्रॉन E2 एनर्जी स्टेटमध्ये जर ट्रान्झिट व्हायचं असेल तर E2 मायनस E1 म्हणजे ई अमाऊंट ऑफ एनर्जी आली तरच तो ऍब्सॉर्ब करून जम्प करेल E1 to E2. So when the photon with energy E2 minus E1 is incident on this atom, then it goes into higher energy state E2 from E1 through absorption of that photon. So this process is absorption. This process is absorption. So whenever there is a photon which is incident on this atom or this electron having the energy HF equal to E, photon energy is HF, but this is equal to E, then this photon is get absorbed by this atom and then electron jumps from lower energy state to higher energy state. If it is not matching to equal to E, then that photon will not be absorbed. Resonance will not be there. Photon interaction is not there. That means if it is less than E, it cannot be absorbed because the electron cannot possess the energy other than E2. It can only possess the energy E1 or E2. So from transit from E1 to E2, it must require at least E, an amount of energy. So this is in the absorption process. What is there in the absorption process? If there are two level atomic system, two energy state or two level atomic system, E1 and E2. So there is a gap energy E, which is E2 minus E1. Okay. So if the electron is in the valence state, this electron can absorb the photon HF, amount of energy photon, but that HF amount of energy photons HF should be equal to E, and after absorption the electron can jump from E1 to E2. This is called absorption of the photon. Okay? This is absorption of the photon. Then optical fiber communication will continue with principle of working of optical sources. Principle of working of optical sources. So emission of radiation in the form of light photon. How the emission is there in the form of light photon, that will take check. So we already checked the absorption of the photon. Now emission of radiation in form of light. Emission of radiation in form of light or in form of photon. So in atoms, there is a emission of radiation in form of other energy are also possible. As we know, we have studied the basic electronics, elements of electronics, then other electronics, power and some other electronics, in which many times we have studied this energy level diagram. And the electron, when transits from one energy state to other energy state, either it absorbs the energy or it radiates the energy. Whenever it radiates the energy, in these devices, power devices, we have seen the radiated energy is in the form of thermal energy most of the times, thermal energy. So this radiation is thermal energy. Now we are considering the emission of radiation in form of light, photon. Some particular materials are such a design that those materials are having their two-state energy structure, and from higher energy state to lower energy state electron transits, then that electron emits the amount of energy higher minus lower, and this quanta of energy is emitted in the form of light. So emission of light in this photo devices are in form of light. Emission of radiation is in the form of light. Emission of radiation is possible in other form also, like thermal energy. But in optical devices, emission of radiation is in form of light or photon. That's why this statement is written. Emission of radiation is in the form of light, and that is photon. Energy bundle, discrete energy bundle. Now again consider two energy state or two energy level atomic system where an atom is initially in the higher energy state E2. Okay. So two energy state is considered. Let us consider two energy states. One is E2, second is E1, and there is a gap in this energy state is E. This gap E is equal to E2 minus E1. Okay, this is two energy state, two energy level atomic system. So this is two energy state or two energy level atomic system, where atom is initially in higher energy state E2. Atom is in the higher energy state means the outermost electron is in the higher energy state E2. So this is the outermost electron which is in the higher energy state. So whenever the outermost electron is in the higher energy state, I will draw electron on this side so that emitted photon can be shown. So this is the outermost electron on the higher energy state. So now we have considered the two energy state or two energy level atomic system where the atom is initially in the higher energy state E2. So outermost electron is in the higher energy state, that is conduction energy state equal to E2. Now this electron, it can make the transition. It can make the transition to the lower energy state. Okay, it can make the transition to the lower energy state. Okay. It can make the transition to the lower energy state E1, providing the emission of photon. It emits the photon while transiting from higher energy state to lower energy state, providing the emission of photon. Okay, photon emission H into F. HF is photon, providing the emission of photon at frequency corresponding to what is the frequency it is emitting. This frequency is E equal to E2 minus E1. This much amount of energy it emits. So photon energy is E into E is equal to E2 minus E1. So this is the photon energy. This frequency is corresponding to E equal to HF. So this frequency F is corresponding to E. So whatever the amount of gap energy of this material is there, band gap energy of this material is there, that amount of energy is emitted as a photon. So how we can make a particular color source? We have to select the material such that that wavelength or that frequency is adjusted for its emission. How we can adjust it? By making that band gap energy value vary according to our requirement. Suppose if we require a particular frequency emission, we will adjust that E value for that F. Okay? So we can make the source which falls in the communication window, that is 1.7 micrometer to zero point 0.8 micrometer. Also we can make the source which fall the frequency in the visible spectrum, that is wavelength varies from 0.7 micrometer to zero point 0.4 micrometer. Okay, 1.7 to zero point 0.8 micrometer, this is for communication window, and after zero point 0.8 micrometer at zero point 0.7 visible band starts, visible spectrum starts. So from zero point 0.7 it starts and at zero point 0.4 it ends, isn't it? So if you want to adjust the wavelength in this bandwidth, accordingly the material band gap energy is selected. Okay. So that the photons emitted will have frequency or wavelength within this visible spectrum. So we can make the source in the visible spectrum, we can make the source in infrared in the uh, optical communication window spectrum by adjusting the material band gap energy so that these emitted photons will have that frequency or that wavelength, isn't it? If H is constant, so the energy is directly proportional to frequency. This we have seen in previous so many lectures we are discussing. So E is equal to HF. If energy is varies from some amount to other amount, it has to vary the photon frequency and photon wavelength, isn't it? As we know, the E equal to HF equal to Hc upon lambda. So let's say both are constant. If energy varies, lambda has to vary. If energy increases, lambda has to decrease. If energy decreases, lambda has to increase. Similarly, energy increases, frequency has to increase. Energy decreases, frequency has to decrease. So whatever amount of energy of the photon, okay, this is suppose one photon energy or small amount of energy or still higher amount of energy. So whatever amount of energy of the photon is there, so that frequency or that wavelength is there for that particular photon. The photon is of that color. Okay, photon is of that color, either red or orange or yellow or green or blue or violet. So LED color can be varied. How LED color is varied? By varying the band gap energy of the material. To change the material constituents, to change the material property, to change or select a particular wavelength, particular color. Wavelength is nothing but color, isn't it? Point 0.7 micrometer wavelength is for red color and zero point 0.4 micrometer color wavelength is for violet color, isn't it? Similarly, there are various wavelengths in the optical window 1.7 micrometer to zero point 0.8 micrometer. So this is the optical window. So this photon which can be made from this particular requirement of optical window, optical fiber communication window, OFC window, by selecting the material of band gap energy which emits the wavelength from this band, whatever the wavelength we require. So the source can be manufactured, designed to emit a particular wavelength. How to select the wavelength? By properly selecting the material of proper value of band gap energy. So this is the fundamental behind the emission of radiation of in form of light. Okay. If the material is having band gap energy like germanium or silicon, that will emit the energy radiation in form of thermal energy. To have the optical source, we must have bandwidth and frequency of optical energy, that is either infrared or visible, so that we can make either infrared source or visible spectrum source. Okay. So this is the theory behind this. What is the factor which plays the role in this is band gap energy of the material. Band gap energy of material. So emission of light is in two steps, two types. As we know, we have discussed this in last lecture and today we will revise. Emission of light is in two types. One is spontaneous emission and second is stimulated emission. This we have discussed yesterday also and today we have revised it. One is spontaneous emission and second is stimulated emission of radiation. Spontaneous emission randomly takes place and higher energy state electron jumps into lower energy state randomly and emits the photon randomly. Stimulated emission, whenever the external photon interacts with the atomic structure, the external photons takes out the photon equal same photon amount of energy in the phase with itself and direction of itself. So this is monochromatic in and coherent light emission and directional light emission in the stimulated emission. Spontaneous emission is observed in LED and stimulated emission is observed in the laser. So these are the two types. One is spontaneous emission, second is stimulated emission of radiation. Then For continuing the same optical fiber communication D8202, principle of working of optical source. How the optical source works, principle of working of optical source. In detail we'll discuss, we have seen this in short. The emission of radiation in form of light photon. Okay. How the emission of radiation in the form of light photon takes place. Two types of the emission processes are there. One is spontaneous emission and second is simulated emission. So let us check the spontaneous emission. Okay. First check the spontaneous emission, in which the atom structure, the atom returns to the lower energy state in an entirely random manner. Okay, entirely random manner, completely random manner. So this is random transit from higher energy state to lower energy state and emission of the photon. So when the electron is jumping from higher energy state to lower energy state is not known. It is random in direction and time also. Okay. So electron in one atom jumps from higher energy state to lower energy state. Suppose at this time, one time, after any time, another atom electron jumps from higher energy state to another. So this photon is radiated in this direction. This photon may be radiated in other direction. So directions are not matching. Time of emission is also not matching. So it is highly non-coherent, okay, incoherent. No coherence is there. No phase relationship, temporal as well as spatial. Coherence is not there. So this is random emission, entirely random emission. But as the semiconductor material is having same band gap energy, both the photons are having same amount of energy, E equal to HF. That means the radiated photons are monochromatic. Monochromatic. So this source is monochromatic because band gap energy is same. Band gap energy is deciding which frequency or which wavelength it is emitting. So it is constant for all the material. Band gap energy is same for each atom in the material. So each atom transition will emit same photon energy. It emits same photon energy. If the energy of photon is same for all the emissions, all the photons, that means all the photons are having same frequency or same wavelength. So all the photons are monochromatic. So total radiation is monochromatic. Okay. But these photons are not emitted at same time and same space. So temporal or spatial coherence is not there. So this source is which is having the spontaneous emission. These sources are not coherent sources. So what is there in the spontaneous emission in which the atom returns to the lower state and energy state in entirely random manner? What is there? It is random in nature of spontaneous emission sources. Spontaneous emission process is completely random in nature. It is random in nature. This process is this emits the light by electronic transition in a large number of atoms. Okay. So this emits the light, spontaneous emission process emits the light by electronic transition. The electrons transit from higher energy state to lower energy state. Large number of such electron transits and this emits the light. It gives incoherent radiation. Incoherent radiation because there is no direction of the photon which are similar for all photon. There are no time instant where the all the photon are simultaneously emitted. They are randomly emitted at any time, and there is no spatial also coherence. So totally, this radiation is incoherent. This radiation gives in this gives uh, spontaneous emission gives incoherent radiation. The emission process of semiconductor is the mechanism for light generation within the LED. This emission process of in semiconductor is the mechanism for light generation within the LED. This mechanism is used in the LED for light generation, light emission. Okay. Spontaneous emission mechanism is there in the light emitting diodes. So, light emitting diodes are monochromatic, but they are incoherent in radiation. LED are monochromatic but incoherent. Okay. So, this LED are monochromatic but incoherent. Okay. Incoherent. So, incoherence is there. So, this is about the spontaneous emission. Then continuing the OFC, we will have the principle of working of optical source with emission of radiation of light in form of photon. There are two types of the emission processes. One we have just discussed, that is spontaneous emission. Now this is second, which is stimulated emission. This is stimulated emission. When the photon having the energy equal to energy difference between two states E2 minus E1 interacts when a photon having the energy equal to the energy difference between two states of the material E2 minus E1. So this photon is having energy equal to E2 minus E1 of the material. Material uh, band gap energy is there. If one photon is interacting with the material with same band gap energy, photon energy equal to band gap energy, interacts with the atom in the upper energy state, causing it to return to lower energy state. Atom from upper energy state causing to return to lower energy state. So this photon causes the atom in the upper energy state to return to lower energy state. This photon is the reason, is a cause that interact the atom and makes that atom of upper energy state to return to lower energy state. It is making that photon, external photon falling on the interacting with the atom, makes external photon makes the atom to go from higher energy state to lower energy state with emission of or creation of a second photon, with the emission of second photon. Okay, with emission of second photon, it generates the second photon, and this generated photon becomes emission from the material. And original photon, external photon is there, and emitted photon, both are having phasor directional equality, and energy equal, in energies are equal because the external photon is also band gap energy, equal to band gap energy, and emitted is obviously has to have band gap energy. So both are equal in energy amount, equal in same direction, equal in same phase. So it emits the photon with whatever the created or generated photon is there, that photon, it emits a photon generally of an identical energy to incident photon. So this emitted photon is of identical same energy that to incident photon, because incident photon is interact the material only when it is having the energy equal to E2 minus E1 band gap energy. So emitted photon is also having E2 minus E1. So both are identical in energy, emitted as well as incident photon. So it is having light of stimulating and stimulated photon. It is having light of stimulating and it is having the stimulated photon output in phase and with same polarization. So obviously direction becomes same. So the emitted photon is in phase with the incident photon. Okay. Hence, it is coherent radiation. Hence, in it, the coherent radiation is obtained. In this material, coherent radiation is obtained. Okay. So coherency is there in the stimulated emission. Why the coherence is there? Because the stimulating photon and stimulated photon both are in phase with each other, in phase with each other. So that's why it is coherent radiation. It adds incident wave, it adds the incident wave and liberated wave, that is radiated wave. The energy wave which is liberated from the atomic structure and the incident wave which is interacting with the atomic structure, both are get added together because they are in phase. This mechanism, the stimulated emission, adds incident wave, light wave and liberated light wave in constructive manner. They are not subtracting, they are supporting each other. They are getting added each other. So they becomes double, the wave becomes double. It adds the incident wave and liberated wave in constructive manner, providing amplification. Suppose one photon is interacting, it emits the other photon, the original wave of one photon becomes two photon, that is double. That is nothing but amplification. These added photons are in phase. That's why they do not cancel each other. They are constructively added together. So this is amplification. So what is stimulated emission doing? Stimulated emission adds the incident wave and the liberated wave from atom in constructive manner. It adds in constructive manner and provides the amplification. So this is nothing but amplification, giving a laser as optical source with all above properties. So laser is having all these properties. What are the properties? Laser is a stimulated emission device in which external photon interact with the laser diode material atoms, and that atom with which the external photon radiated incident photon interacts, the photon equal to same amount is radiated by the atomic structure, and the radiated photon wave, light wave and the incident light wave are very much in the phase. That means the radiation is coherent, and due to the incident photon, one more photon is radiated, and the radiated and incident photon are in phase. That's why constructive addition takes place and wave becomes double. This is amplification, and these all properties are observed in the laser, that is stimulated emission, coherent emission, light amplification. All these properties are observed in laser. So this process is having light amplification with of stimulated emission of radiation. This is having light amplification of stimulated emission of radiation. Light amplification with stimulated emission of radiation. The short form of this is light amplification of light amplification with stimulated emission of radiation. Short form of this is laser. The short form of this is laser. So these properties observed in the laser, isn't it? So this is observed in the laser. So whenever there is a E2 energy level and E1 energy level having the band gap energy, E equal to E2 minus E1, and already the atom is in the higher energy state and external photon is incident on it, HF, then it jumps from higher energy to the lower energy state with emission of one more photon which is in phase with external photon. So these two photons are in phase to each other, that is coherent emission is there, and one photon is becoming double two photons. So this is amplification is there. So this is in all light amplification with stimulated emission of radiation, laser. So these two are the types of radiations. One is spontaneous emission, second is stimulated emission. Now let us check how this material, semiconductor material structure is there. So this particular diagram figure which we have on, on the slide is very much familiar with us. This we have studied from physics, elements of electronics, and various other electronic subjects or courses. What this slide contains is PN junction impurities and charge carriers. And in the second figure B, it's related energy bands. In PN junction structure, this is a P-type material, this is the N-type material, this is the depletion layer, okay, in between the P and N junction materials. P and N materials when joined together it forms the junction, and around the junction there is a depletion layer. This is the depletion layer, okay, shown by dotted lines. So in P-type material, trivalent impurities are added in the intrinsic material, and trivalent impurity is having three outermost electrons. That makes the covalent bonding with three other semiconductor atoms, and one uh, empty covalent bond remains. That empty covalent bond is absence of electron, absence of negative charge, absence of electron, absence of negative charge, isn't it? Trivalent impurity is there, that's why one electron is less. Only three electrons are there in the outermost orbits. And the semiconductor material, intrinsic semiconductor material, always have four electrons in its outermost orbits. So these three electrons from impurity makes the covalent bond of three electrons, and one electron from semiconductor is remains unbonded, and one absence is there of the electron. So it will not complete the octet. Only seven electrons are there in the covalent bonds. So one electron is less. It is the deficiency of one electron, absence of one electron. One electron is less. That means one negative charge is less. One negative charge, electron is negatively charged. One negative charge is less, deficient. Therefore, this is called positive charge. So this is named as holes. Okay. So this is the electron atom. This is the atom, and this is the hole related to that atom. Okay. So one hole is there, that is positive charge, and if we remove the positive charge hole from the atomic structure, it gives the ion with negative charge. Okay. One positive charge is removed from the atom becomes negative charge. Similarly, when negative charge is removed from the atom becomes positive ion. So whenever the atom is giving out one hole, that is positive charge, atom becomes negative ion. Okay. Ion of the atom becomes negative. NaCl, we know NaCl, sodium and chlorine, NaCl, meat, salt. So whenever NaCl is dissolved in water, okay, Na one electron, outermost electron Na, okay, that electron negative charge is given to chlorine. So as Na atom loses one negative charge, Na ion becomes positive, Na plus, Na ion becomes Na plus, and chlorine accepts one extra electron from the sodium. Therefore, chlorine atom or chlorine ion becomes negatively charged, Cl minus. Okay. So when we show the Cl, we show negative Cl, and when we show the atom of the sodium, we show it positive. Similarly, sodium ion is positive, chlorine ion is negative. Similarly, whenever positive charge is given out by the atom becomes negative charge. And here in the n type, whenever the electron negative charge is given by the atom becomes positively charged, ion. So p-type material, all the atoms are negative ions. P-type material, charges are positive, but atomic structure is negative ion. Okay. The atoms are negative ions. So these all are negative ions. Negative ions. Atoms are negative ions. And their charges, outermost charges are holes, positive ions. So these are the positive charges. Holes are positive charges. Atoms are negative ions in p-type material. Okay. So this is the construction of p-type material. What is there in the p-type material? Ions are negative. P-type material. Ions are negative and charged particles are positive. So we name the material with respect to charge particle. Charge particle वरून आपण त्या मटेरियलला नाव देतो पी टाइप मटेरियल पॉझिटिव्ह मटेरियल because charges are positive. Okay. But in p type material, very small number of minority charge carriers are also there. Very small number. Electrons are also there. So this is the construction of p-type of the material. These are the structural details of p-type material. What is there in the p-type material? P-type material contains negative ions, atomic ions, negative ions. P-type material contains plenty of positive charges called holes, plenty of large number of positive charges. And p-type material contains very small number of negative charges. So large number of positive charges in the p-type are holes. These are called majority charges, and very small number of negative charges, that is electrons, in p-type material are called minority charges. So holes are majority charge carriers. Majority charges. And electrons are minority charges. Okay. So holes are majority charges and electrons are minority charges. Where? In p type of the material. In p type material, holes are majority charges and electrons are in minority charges. So in n type material, just opposite, atoms are the ions of positive charges. So this is atom has become ion. Okay. Of positive charge, positive ion. Atom has become positive ion. Atom become positive ion. Why this atom become positive ion? Because that atom is emitted or given out one negative charge. When the atom loses one electron negative charge, it becomes positive. In N-type material, all the atoms are positive and the charged particles are negative, electrons. Charged particles, plenty of charged particles available are negative. So, from charged particles, the material is named as N-type material. Okay. In N-type material, all the atoms are becoming positive ions and emitting, giving out the charges in negative type, that is electrons. In N-type material, some holes are also present. Okay. In N-type material, holes are also present, but they are very less in number. Therefore, they are called minority charges. Electrons are called majority charges. So these are electrons which are majority charges in N-type material, and holes are minority charges in N-type material. Okay. So in P-type material, holes are majority. In N-type material, electrons are majority. In P-type material, electrons are minority. In N-type material, holes are minority. So these symbols are shown here. So this symbol is for electron. This symbol is for hole. Similarly, uh, next symbol is for acceptors, and next is donors. Acceptors are negative ions. Donors are positive ions. Okay, donors donate one electron, so they are positive ions. They loses one electron, therefore they are positive ion. Acceptors accepts one electron or donates whole, therefore they are negative ion. Donates positive ion means negative. Positive charge means they are becoming negative ion. So this is about the construction of the P and N material. Now, when P and N material join together, what happens? The free electrons from N type and deficiency of electron, that is holes from P type, they combine together and makes the neutralized zone. So whenever there is a p-type atom, this is having extra electron. Okay, and the p-type atom is having lack of electron, hole. When n-type material is having extra electron and p-type atom is having deficiency of electron, then this electron and this hole recombines. That means this electron takes the place of this hole. That is deficiency, absence of electron. So here one electron is absent. So this extra electron from N type takes the place of absent electron, and the octet of this atom completes. Octet of this atom completes. And this atom is also having the octet. So both the atoms are having octet completed. Extra electron, octet is not completed. One extra electron is there. Less electron, octet is not completed. Only 7 electrons are there. So from 9 electron, it becomes only 8 electron, and from 7, it also becomes 8 electrons in the outer state. So both the atoms in N state type as well as P type get neutralized electrically. These atoms get neutralized, and neutralized the atoms do not conduct electricity. Do not conduct. They have completed the octet. Once the octet is completed, they do not lose electron for conduction of the electricity. Whenever there is a conduction of electricity, there is only free state electrons. There are only free state electrons which conducts the energy. Okay. So if octet is completed, atoms do not release the electron for conduction of the electricity. Atoms do not release the electrons for conduction of the electricity. Atoms do not release the electron for conduction of the electricity, and that is called neutralized atoms. They do not conduct electricity, isn't it? And that happens in this depletion layer. Whenever n-type layer and p-type layer combine together, the neutralized zone is created, and that is called depletion layer. This neutralized zone is called depletion layer. Now, from this atom, one electron is shared to this atom, and this becomes neutralized. From this atom, electron is shared to this atom, and this becomes neutralized. Both the atoms become neutralized. So from this atom, electron is shared to this atom, and both the atoms become neutralized. Similarly, for this, one electron is shared with this atom. So once a particular level of depletion layer is created, now further exchange of electron is prohibited, blocked. So now this electron cannot go this to this other side because sufficiently large depletion layer is created. Until a small depletion layer, there is a possibility of travel of electron, conduction of electron. Travel of electron is nothing but conduction, and electrical conduction is not present in the depletion layer. Electrical conduction is not present, okay, in the depletion layer. Depletion layer is electrically non-conducting layer. So further exchange of electrons is stopped. So n layer will remain n layer, p layer will remain p layer, and in between n and p layer there is a sandwiched depletion layer. Okay? There is a sandwiched depletion layer. So this is the formation of PN junction. This is formation of PN junction. So what is there in the PN junction? In PN junction, there is P-type material area, there is N-type material volume, and there is a depletion layer volume. Okay. In P-type material, there are large number of negative ions. They have given out positive charges. Large number of positive charges. They are called holes. Large number of positive charges are majority charges, and very few minority charges are also there. Those are electrons in p-type region. In n-type region, large number of positive ions are there because they have emitted given extra electron. So they loses the negative charge, therefore ion becomes positive in n-type region. So large number of negative charges are there. Those are called electrons. Okay. So electrons are negative charges. Okay. Large number of negative charges in N material. And there are very small number of holes are also there. Those are minority charges. So this is the construction of p-type n-type material. And there is a depletion layer sandwiched between p-type and n-type, and that depletion layer is electrically neutralized by exchange of the charged particles and making the octet complete for all the ions to become stable atoms. And this stable atom do not conduct electricity further. Therefore, all the electrons in n-type and all the holes from p-type do not travel to other sides through the depletion layer. Okay, so this is the construction of PN junction, formation of PN junction. Okay. Why we have elaborated this? Because this must be clear to discuss the further all the points in the sources and detectors. So this must be clear to discuss the different mechanisms of sources and detectors. Okay. So this we must have studied in uh, high school level, first year, second year, also in various courses. Now, analogous to this construction of the junction, we are having the junction energy properties, energy layer levels, junction energy levels. Okay, so this must also be known to us. So, for P type of the material, the energy level is shown, as well as N type of the material, the energy levels are shown.